People say leads are the lifeblood of business. But the fact is, without consistent sales coming in the door, your business is on life support with imminent death right around the corner. Now, that may sound dramatic, but sales are what keeps a business healthy. And if you're not bringing in sales on the regular, then that's the number one problem that you need to solve. Not bringing in leads, but converting the leads you already have. I have a feeling I just unlocked something. You're welcome. And welcome to this episode of Bold Moves Friday. This is a potent 10-minute training for a quick win in your business. I'm Judy Weber, and I help Christian women scale businesses that change the world. Let's go. All right, today I want to share with you, because sales are so important, the first step in converting leads is having connection. So I want to share with you my 4-step connection framework. And I want to lay out what these 4 I's are. They all begin with I. And then I want to go into deep on each of these, all right, in 10 minutes. All right, so first, what are these 4 steps in this connection framework? First, we have interest. Second, interaction. Third, identity. And fourth, influence, okay? Interest, interaction, identity, influence. All right, first step in connection, interest. All right, listen, I don't care if you're in the DMs or if you are having a conversation over the phone or Zoom, or if we're talking with someone at an event, whatever the case, from the get-go, you have one priority, and that is to be interested in the other person. Not for you to be interesting, but for you to be interested, right? You want to understand them. It's all about them, right? And of course, we all know that even on a sales call, it is not about getting the sale or even qualifying the lead per se. This goal in this first step of connection, this interest step, is to understand. That's it. I need to understand where they are, right? And by the way, I'm going to drop this little extra nugget. Do not begin a call trying to establish rapport by saying, hey, how's the weather? Or, hey, where do you live? That is so stupid. There, I said it. When I hear that, all of a sudden, I might think of you up here. And because you are so uncreative on that first rapport point, all of a sudden, I go from thinking of this to you to that. And so do your people. So don't do it, okay? Get creative, get personal, right? Take the time before you talk to somebody, wherever possible, to check them out online. Find some point of real, authentic connection and be sincere as you do that rapport point, okay? Sincerity is palpable and it opens up the other person, and there's like again, connection, trust right there, okay? So that's the first step. We're going to show interest, okay? Second step is interaction. Okay, this is obvious, right? It's not just a monologue. That's not your point as a CEO talking to a potential client. You need to have interaction. There needs to be engagement. Okay, there needs to be the back and forth. Now, where this might become difficult is that by nature, we are driven. We entrepreneurs, we CEOs, we're driven and we're super smart. The ones that follow me, you're super smart. And so we think fast. And so in this step of interaction, we need to be intentional about pausing and taking our time. Because what I found all too often in the early days is that I was I was listening, but yet I was always anxious and excited to get my next question out. So I ended up cutting somebody off unintentionally, right? So don't do that. It makes them feel like, ooh, I can't say much because she's going to cut me off. That's a problem, right? So be sure that you're intentional about giving them time to get out what they want to say, okay? Like we need also be slower in our speech, okay? Quick to listen and slower speed of our speech and slower to actually open up our mouth, right? Let the other person have their time. And one last tidbit on the interaction is some of the best questions you can say after somebody mentions something, right? You can say, tell me more. Tell me more about that, right? Ooh, tell me more, and act genuinely interested, right? Because you should be. Or another thing to say is like, so interesting. Why is that important to you? Okay. So we had interest, and that was interaction that I just went through. we're already to step number 3 in this connection framework, and that is identity. Identity. And it's about their identity. We have to meet them where they are. Like, and after we have that interaction, and we're moving on to the next step, this step number 3, identity. I love starting with summarizing what I've heard. It's kind of like, here's where you are, right? Here's who you are. Here's what's important to you. Am I right about that? Like, confirm that you get them. Okay. Another important aspect of identity, it really means that from you sifting through what they've already told you, that you understand what they believe, you understand their perspective, right? And where they're coming from. So, when I'm talking about identity and getting down to their beliefs, in particular, you want to examine what they believe about your services, right? Or your industry. And sometimes that can be so valuable, especially because if they're thinking in a way that isn't helpful to them, you're serving them by shining a beacon of light on a new way of thinking, on a new perspective. Okay. Now, on this point, I just want to give you permission to lean in on what makes you different, on this differentiators, on your perspective shifts. Okay. So I often say when someone zigs, when everybody else in the industry that you're in zigs, I want you to zag, right? If the conventional wisdom of your industry says X, then get out there loud and proud and say, actually, they're wrong. It's not this, it's that. Okay. Because when you boldly, who knows, I love bold, right? Bold business, bold faith. That when you boldly say, actually, they're wrong about that. And here's why. This allows you to not only stand out, which is good in a sea of noise, right? But I want you to stand alone, alone as the best and only choice. And so if you are watching right now, you're like, Judy, I don't know about what makes me different. I would encourage you to go power think. I would encourage you to grab your phone and identify, a 15 or 20-minute segment of time where you are going to power think and just brain dump. How are you different? Because you are. Okay. How do your services, how are they better than your competitors? How are you better, a better expert, a better consultant, a better coach, a better, etc., than others? Okay. And this is so critical because if you can't identify your differentiators, why should anybody else think that you're different or better? Okay. Now here's some pro juice right here. Okay. Come in, come listen. This is all about in this step, giving the prospect a perspective shift. So I'm talking about differentiators and beliefs. It's all about you seeing where they're thinking wrong. Okay. Now here's the real juice. Not only a new way to think about the solution, right? Your solution, but also a perspective shift on how they think about the problem differently. Let me give you an example. In my work with mastermind clients, they often come to me and they're thinking, when I hire, I'm going to hire somebody by position and order. Like first comes the VA, and then comes the social media manager, and then maybe my director of ops, etc. But that is based on the wrong assumption. Because hear me on this, and you can write this down. You do not hire by role, you hire by skill set. Okay. And so if you would like my dream team protocol so that you get this right, comment dream team protocol down below and we will send it to you. Okay. Because listen, when you hire, not by role, but by skill set, you will not overpay. And because you're hiring based on skill set, the quality of the work that your people deliver are going to be at the highest. It's going to make you more profit. Okay. All right. Final point on this issue of identity and shifting perspectives. Listen, we all hear that the nurture time is elongating and buyers buying cycle is elongating. Let me tell you something. When you lean in to your differentiators and you are big and bold on like helping them see where they're thinking wrong, right? That is what collapses time and actually shortens the buying cycle for you because we're talking about tapping in to their buyer psychology. We're going to shift how they think and what they believe. Okay. All right. So we had Step 1, interest. Step 2, interaction. Step 3, identity. And finally, influence. Influence. The influence is defined as the power to change someone or the power to affect someone. So by here, I'm talking about moving them into action, right? And when we're talking to prospective buyers, we are moving them to make a decision for their benefit. Okay. And it's not about fake urgency and discounts. It's about, I have a solution like no other. And I've just told you about it. Like you wouldn't say this, but this is the idea. I've got a solution like nobody else. And so the idea is the sooner you say yes, the sooner your problem gets solved. Because you not only think like the solution, you haven't realized what the solution is, but as I've just described, you didn't even understand what the real problem was. Okay. And so when you present it in a way like that, and you're like, I not only have I know what problem you're going through, but I know how to solve it in a way that nobody else does, you're going to convey to the other person that the impact you're going to make on them was like 10x what they thought was possible. And that's, again, how this all works together. All right, so there you have it, the 4I connection framework. Implement this, comment below any questions, and make sure you come back this and every Friday, as well as our Tuesday main drops. Thanks for watching. See you next time.